This first question is in the category of schemes, and it's a hard one. What is the name of the UN mass global depopulation plan? Chris.
Wait, Mike, what happens if we guess and we get it wrong?
I'm going to give you a negative point.
Chopping block.
Well, I am going to give
I'm
going to give you a negative point. Do you not know it?
I'm going to say Agenda 2030.
Legit scientists right now are positing that we live in a simulation.
I feel like a lot of stuff is going on in the world that's brought up a lot of these conversations, even in our last couple episodes, just with UAP disclosure and, the Nephilim agenda that we always come back to.
The world largely rejects their message and treats them as hostile extraterrestrials who must be stopped at any cost.
Hey campers, welcome back to another episode of Camp Hermon. My name is Tori.
And I'm Chris, and we've got our boy Mikey Stibbs in the house.
What's up, everybody? Camp Hermon, camping with these two crazy peoples.
That we are. That we are.
Yeah, buddy. Tori P. I heard the P stands for powerful.
You know what? Powerful, petite, Peterson.
There you go. All right. So we have got I think what's going to be a good episode, a fun episode. We are going to have a segment of the tinfoil hat time. But before we get to that segment, Tori, you mentioned an interesting experience you had while you were walking your dog out in the woods recently. What's up with that?
Yeah. Okay, guys. So I've been walking a lot recently because if you haven't heard, walking is super good for your health, your physical and your mental health. And I'm just going to go out on a limb and say maybe your spiritual health too. But it's really good for anxiety and it's free. And we've been having really great weather. So me and my dog have been taking this 3-mile walk that's right by where I live almost every day. So I'm pretty familiar with this path, and you guys might not all know me as well as Chris and Mike do, but I think they can vouch for me. I don't tell a lot of tall tales. I don't make up a lot of outlandish things, but I had this weird experience, okay? And I haven't had a lot of weird, monster experiences. And I'm not saying that's necessarily what happened here, but it was weird and it didn't sit quite right with me. So I'm walking my dog, same trail as always. I'm pretty familiar with these woods, and we passed by this one particular stretch on the path. I wasn't deep in the woods or anything. I was just right on the same path as always. And this tree, I felt like it was almost looking at me, and I don't know, it just didn't look right, Chris. I sent you a picture. I know the picture doesn't totally do it justice, but it looked very ghoulish, so it's a tree, right? But it had its arms wide open. We just we just had a little Creed karaoke moment before we started recording. But this tree had its arms stretched and kind of neck bent down, and it looked like it had a ghoulish looking face. Anyway, it just really gave me the creeps. And I know I have a pretty active imagination, but it was I kind of had my eye on this tree, it stood out to me enough that I'm walking my 80, 90 pound dog, and I'm trying to hold him back so I can snap a picture of this tree because it just looked weird. Felt ominous, and didn't really look like the other trees around. Anyway, so we keep walking, we go to the little park we always go to, and on the way back I was what, I'm going to get a better picture of this tree. And it wasn't there, Chris. I could not find it again. It was just not there. Wow. So I'm not saying this tree wasn't a tree and got up and walked away, but I'm also not saying that.
Yeah, no, it's basically just one of those situations where you look at this tree, it looked weird, but you also just had this really eerie feeling about it. Just something was off.
Yes, I got an unsettled feeling, which is not really a feel. I mean, I just noticed it in my body because it's kind of the opposite of how I normally feel around trees and on a nature walk,
Right. Yeah. No, for sure.
It's usually
that is
soothing.
Yeah, no, that is a little bit creepy. And that kind of sets up the interview that we're going to play that I did with with Chris and his wife. His wife jumped in kind of midway through the interview. They're in Florida. They've experienced a lot of basically like hauntings, sleep paralysis, seeing black figures like appear and disappear, dogman encounter, like just a bunch of different stuff that has happened with them over the years, and it's like still happening. Like there's active hauntings going on in their home to this day. So yeah, just weird, creepy stuff happening. So stick around for that.
I think it's a perfect time for Tori's tinfoil hat.
I think you've got a video that I stumbled across on Instagram and I sent to you because I kind of want to get your reaction on this. So it's about Martin Luther King Jr. That's all I'm going to say because Mike is going to roll this video.
It is entailing revisionist historical narrative surrounding Martin Luther King Jr. is so extensive that few are aware of his rejection of basic Orthodox Christian beliefs. King wrote, quote, "The Orthodox attempt to explain the divinity of Jesus in terms of an inherent metaphysical substance within him seems to me quite inadequate. To say that Christ is divine in an ontological sense is actually harmful and detrimental, so that the Orthodox view of the divinity of Christ is, in my mind, quite readily denied," end quote. At the heart of the Christian faith lies a belief in the divinity of Christ. Any departure from this fundamental doctrine would be considered unorthodox. Given King's denial of Christ's divinity, it is not surprising that he would also reject the concept of the resurrection. As it pertains to the bodily resurrection of Christ, King writes, quote, "This doctrine, the resurrection, upon which the Easter faith rests, symbolizes the ultimate Christian conviction that Christ conquered death. From a literary, historical, and philosophical point of view, this doctrine raises many questions. In fact, the external evidence for the authenticity of this doctrine is found wanting," end quote. King did not believe in the deity of Christ or in his resurrection from the dead. Furthermore, he also rejected the doctrines of the virgin birth, the second coming of Christ, and the existence of a literal hell.
Okay, y'all, when I saw that, I was just like, my mind was blown. It's not really something that I had heard about. I mean, I knew that he had issues with like extramarital affairs, but Tori, what would you call someone who doesn't believe in the divinity of Jesus, that Jesus is God, doesn't believe that Jesus was raised from the dead, doesn't believe in the virgin birth, doesn't believe in hell or the second coming?
It sounds like the Sadducees, like the early religious leaders in the New Testament, right? But anyway,
Right.
I would not call that person a Christ follower.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, very interesting. Mike, what did you think about that?
Yeah, so I was definitely blown away too, because he was always referred to as Reverend Martin Luther King. And I don't know, maybe that's one of those implanted memories or changed memories, but I'm pretty sure he was always referred to as a reverend. And growing up, in public school in the month of February, Black History Month, they would always talk about how that this was like almost like a message from God, the "I have a dream" speech. So in my mind, what you call somebody that doesn't believe in the divinity of Christ, doesn't believe in the resurrection, but calls himself a reverend under, correct me if I'm wrong, the Baptist faith, you call that a heretic. And so yeah, I'm blown away because on one hand, you look at what he did and what he sacrificed, to unite a country that was divided, and it was such you would think it would be like a God-fueled kind of mission that he was on. because he ultimately gave his life. And we talked about Martin Luther King on another I think it was in our game show that we do. We talked about how the CIA basically told him to kill himself, to commit suicide. And that kind of blew us away too. And by the way, just dangling the carrot, we are going to play our game show tonight. Again, Chris versus Tori. It's on. But yeah, the man did really, really good for the country. And it kind of breaks my heart to know that he didn't believe in the divinity of Christ. Because that's like somebody telling you, like, I know your best friend, but he's not who he says he is. Right?
Right. Yeah, for sure. So, Mike, it was the FBI, not the CIA, that was trying to get him to commit suicide. But yeah, so I think what we have here, and it's something that I never really looked into, similarly to you, like you grow up hearing like, oh, Reverend, okay. He basically was like a liberal, like social justice preacher, right? So he preached like a social gospel. So here's the conspiracy theory with this. So the conspiracy theory is, now again, I'm not saying, like, I don't know his heart, right? Only God knows a heart. So like, but all of his writings and his sermons indicate that he didn't believe in these things. He didn't believe that Jesus was God and the resurrection and all that we just talked about. And the night before he died, he was in the hotel with another woman that was not his wife. So like the conspiracy with this, in my mind, Tori, is he may have been a Freemason. I haven't looked into this too much, but I heard there's some connections with him and Freemasons. There was possible connections with him and like the communists and the communists like Russia or whatever. So some people thought that he was trying to bring in like a communist agenda, and there are links with like the social justice warriors today and communism. Many of them are communists, and the conspiracy theory, I think, is them slowly trying to destroy the fabric of America, to bring America down so that it can be rebuilt in some sort of like communist socialist hellscape, basically.
So Chris, let me chime in on this, because I actually did an entire documentary on the communist agenda of the BLM of that time. Did a lot of research on that. It's funny because it was the first documentary I ever put together. It got like 150 views on YouTube and nobody ever watched it. I never talked about it again, but I go into a lot of, and there's not connections. It is a blatant agenda to be a communist, not even socialism. They want to skip over socialism and go straight to communism. But the conspiracy within the conspiracy, and I'm going to put the link to that documentary in the notes on YouTube, and I'll give it to you, Chris, so you can put it in on the Spotify one, because if it'll remind you of what was really going down right around the events of 2020. But I believe that that the leaders of the BLM are funded by Open Society, which is George Soros's nonprofit organization. And it's a very, very scary thing when you have people trying to downgrade other people for in the spirit of what they would call equality. So what you have to do in communism is you have to downgrade everybody that's working hard and making a living for their money. We live in America. It doesn't matter where you came from. It matters where you're going and how you conduct yourself.
That's the thing, Mike. Like even what we're talking about with Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is when we talk about like social justice and we talk about Jesus and those two things together, like you have to talk about sin and overcoming sin, right? If you remove the divinity of Jesus and you remove Jesus from that conversation by removing his divinity, then sin is just something that you get to decide what sin is, right? It becomes this just like weird, murky thing. And then that's where it just all falls apart as far as like relating social justice and Christianity. Tori, put your tinfoil hat on. Like what's going on? What's going on here?
So, I mean, honestly, I never knew that about Martin Luther King Jr. So I'm kind of like just processing that still. But yeah, the BLM movement is just outrageous. Like all you have to do is go to like their own website and read like their own mission statement, and you'll see like truly the most racist stuff ever. Like it's anti like, I mean, so many people, it's anti-family, like it's anti religion. It is like straight up communist. And I also feel like people should know by now what a big scam it was, because like the BLM leaders like took all that money and like went and bought huge mansions, right? I mean, I feel like that was exposed. I know. So I always like, whenever I still see people with like BLM, like in Kansas City, like BLM, like posters in their window, I'm like, don't you guys know that was like a huge scam? Like, don't you get it? But they don't, because people don't know anything and they don't look past anything. They just are like driven by their emotions all the time. But yeah, like social justice without God is like, who's defining what justice is, And it's like whoever is leading this movement. And a lot of times it is like the communists, but like without the Bible, without like one source of ultimate truth, it's just social justice is like whatever the loudest person wants it to be,
Yeah, for sure. And I want to mention, like, we're talking about Martin Luther King Jr. and maybe some of you all listening or like us, like you're like in shock. I want to say like, we're not like attacking like him. It's not an attack. We're not even attacking like the good things that he did. We're literally just talking about like his religious beliefs, and like our minds are being blown that like, oh wow, he actually like wasn't a Christian by any like Orthodox view.
Yeah.
And there may be even more to that, as far as we're gonna have to explore this, because I'll have to do some digging, but there may be some Freemason connections as well.
Yeah, I just think that's a really good reminder that like we shouldn't just take for granted like what someone's reputation it like when someone has like gained a lot of popularity as as a Christian, as a reverend, as a worship leader, what have you. It's like we don't really know who these people are. And you guys know I love Tinfoil Hat Pod and like Sam Tripoli. And in the first episode ever, he's talking about like, why do people with celebrities or politicians, like they defend them like they know them. And they're like, oh, this person wouldn't do that. Like they couldn't do that. It's like, you don't know this person at all, and like we project things onto them. Like, people will say like, oh, Hillary Clinton couldn't have done this and that because people project like, oh, she's like my mom. And it's like, no, she's not. Like, you don't know her. And so like Martin Luther King or like any figurehead, it's like, you don't know that person. And like, rather than, I don't know, just like jumping on the bandwagon, whether it's like a politician, like an influential Christian or like influencers on social media, like, I don't know. It's just don't blindly follow people, like look at what they actually believe, like what they actually say. I don't know. We just need to be really careful about who we follow. And that includes us guys. Like, don't just blindly be like, oh, like Chris and Tori are awesome, because like, first of all, we're just regular people and we mess up all the time. But, it's like any podcast you're listening to, like any author you're like, do your due diligence, and like, don't just line up behind someone who could be like leading you, into some Masonic cult somewhere,
Right. Yeah, no, Tori, that's really good. And yeah, no, that's a good kind of way to cap off this segment. Absolutely. Okay, guys, it is time for the next segment of this segment, which is Tori and I going head to head in a conspiracy theory trivia game. Mike, take it away, sir.
Okay, so we are looking for a title for this segment because we're going to add it in a lot. I don't know. I'm kind of like maybe
tinfoil trivia.
Tinfoil trivia is great. Actually, we may just do that. But I was thinking of calling it Camp Hermon's Conspiracy Trail. I don't know. Camp Hermon's Tinfoil Trivia. I like that too.
That's a lot of tinfoil.
Yeah, it might be a little bit too much.
I like Camp Hermon's Conspiracy Trail.
Yeah.
Okay, well let me put this out to the viewers and listeners. If you have an idea of a title for this segment, and we're going to develop this segment a lot more. That's all I'll say about this. But if you have an idea for a title, let us know. But it has to start off with Camp Hermon's something something. Having said that, let's do this. This first question is in the category of schemes, and it's a hard one. What is the name of the UN mass global depopulation plan? Chris.
Wait, Mike, what happens if we guess and we get it wrong?
I'm going to give you a negative point.
Chopping block.
Well, I am going to give
I'm going
to give you a negative point. Do you not know it?
I'm going to say Agenda 2030, but I don't know if that's right.
All right, Tori, do you want to chime in before I give the multiple choice?
Hang on. I actually would like to hear the multiple choice. I think Chris is right, but I think there's like more than one.
Okay. So Tori, are you looking on your phone?
No.
Okay.
Go ahead. I won't use it.
Cheater.
No. It wasn't. It's not Agenda 2030, but there is another like simulation that I have saved to my files that I read through. Anyway,
okay.
Tori, I'm going to need to see your hands at all times.
Check.
So Chris, unfortunately, because you chimed in before the multiple choice was given, it's going to go to Tori, and if she gets it right with the multiple choice, it's her point. Corona 1, depletion 50, culling 25, or Agenda 21?
I'm going to go with D.
That is correct. 1 point goes to Tori P.
Hold on one second. I want to protest because, Mike, the way you emphasized D was as if that was the right answer.
Oh, come on, Chris. I already knew.
Are you sure? Because I said agenda. Well, okay. I'll work on that, Chris Angel. Okay. Question two. Question 2 is in the category of aliens. Now listen up for this one. And remember, chime in before the multiple choice if you know the answer. Negative aliens used what event to trap all of humanity in a false reality timeline located inside the Phantom Matrix? Okay. Multiple choice coming up. If you know the answer, so when we go to the multiple choice and you guys are both available, the first person to chime in and interrupt me gets the point. So I don't even have to technically finish the multiple choice if you think that you hear the answer. Okay? I want it to be competitive. 9/11 terrorist attacks, the televised broadcast of the first moon landing, The activation of the CERN super collider, the release of the coronavirus. Chris.
I'm going to go with C.
Tori. And C is the activation of the CERN super collider. Tori. You need to hear him again?
Can I hear the question again?
Okay, yeah. So here's the question again. Negative aliens used what event to trap all of humanity in a false reality timeline located inside the Phantom Matrix? A, 9/11 terrorist attacks. B, the televised broadcast of the first moon landing. Which is as funny if you're in the conspiracy, the first moon landing. The activation of the CERN super collider, which was Chris's answer. The release of the coronavirus would be D. So what is your answer, Tori? A, B, C, or D?
I feel like such a dud right now. I don't even know what negative aliens means. So I'll just go with C as well. We can both be wrong if we're wrong.
Exactly. You're both wrong. It was the 9/11 terrorist attacks.
Wow.
What's a negative alien?
Like a bad alien.
Like a bad alien.
That's what I was thinking.
I thought it was like the opposite of like, I don't even know. Okay.
the opposite of an alien, I believe that would be an
like
earthling.
negative, like -1, like a negative alien.
Yes, negative and positive aliens attract each other.
Yeah. Okay.
Now this is my favorite one. This is my favorite question in here. And I'll make fun of it after we go through it. So this question number 3, is in the category of schemes. According to QAnon followers, who was going to return from the dead on July 4th, 2019 to become Trump's Chris got it.
That would be JFK Jr.
Yes, Chris is right. Now, can you believe this, guys? Just for a second, I want you to understand, these two questions were posed next to each other, but I was watching this comedian from the UK making fun of QAnon followers, and it is the funniest video you could ever see because they're arguing about two QAnon followers are arguing about like little tiny details of the return of JFK. It's just funny. But they were out in front of the White House and there was like 10 of them. And like how like they chant like, hell no, we won't go, blah, 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 whatever. They're like, was the moon landing real? No, it was faked. And it is like, seriously, it's cringe to me because unfortunately, these QAnon followers also have the label on them as Christian. And a lot of times there's a lot of tomfoolery going around with people that say I'm a Christian. Don't wear that tag lightly.
Well, you know what? That follows the previous segment where we were talking about the MLK. Pretty good. All right, Mike, next question.
Okay.
Do this.
All right, so we are tied 1-1 right now, and we're going to go back to the topic of aliens. All right, so again, these are pretty deep. Like you have to be you got to be pretty far down the rabbit hole to get some of these, but luckily we do have the multiple choice. Okay. What group was formed by alien sorry. I'm going to start over.
It's a good sign.
What group? Okay. What?
You got to leave all this in. Do not edit this out, Mike.
Okay. What group was formed by alien time healers to help people become galactic humans with multi-dimensional consciousness? I can't believe you guys didn't chime in on that. This is like common knowledge.
Let me jump in. I want to hear the multiple choice.
Okay. A.
The Scientologist.
No, wait. She jumped in and she just answered. You have to take that answer.
No, she didn't do her bang, 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 bang.
No, she said, I'm jumping in. And then she gave an answer. She
Is
said
that
the
right?
Scientologist.
Oh, wait, let's roll that back and see. Let's flag on the play.
Let me jump in. I want to hear the multiple choice.
Okay.
The
A.
Scientologist.
No, wait.
All right. Did you actually say that, Tori?
No, Chris is making stuff up.
All right. Okay. All right. A, the Time Lords. B, the Tal Shahar. C, the Alliance of 12. D, the 9D Nibirian Council. Ooh, that was. Oh, that's. I'm gonna have to call that a tie.
No way.
Because her voice is so soft. She definitely. It was like
I'm
right
going
there. But we could do a tiebreaker. If this one. So you guys both
I think
get
the
you guys
Council
both.
of 12.
Okay, the Council of 12. What do you got, Tori?
That was C, right?
Yes.
Yeah, C.
Okay, you're both wrong. It's the 9D Nibirian Council.
Oh, darn.
Oh, darn Nibirian councils. They get you every time.
Now, I would have gotten that one right. I mean, I thought that was like third grade knowledge. All right, guys. This one is for all the cookies right here. It's under the category of schemes. And I'm just want you guys to know that you got to be quick on the draw. Okay? Silence, please. In the early 1950s, the US government paid over $240,000 to purchase the world's supply of what? A, duct tape. B, LSD. C, uranium. D, Chris.
I'm going with uranium.
For real?
Yeah, but only because I have
my
no
gosh.
idea. Should I have waited?
This is a conspiracy. This is Camp Hermon's conspiracy trail. Uranium. No, the Russians and the Ukrainians have all the uranium. We gave it to them.
We didn't buy any.
We could go into that, but yeah, Obama orchestrated a deal with China and Ukraine and Russia and Crimea, the whole debacle there over uranium. So I guess there is kind of a conspiracy there. Tori, if you get this correct, you're going to win the game.
Can I hear D? But otherwise, I think
All
it's
right, here it is.
LSD. But I want to.
A duct tape, B LSD, C uranium, and D titanium.
Oh, LSD.
Tori is our winner. Thank you very much for watching this edition of Camp Hermon's Conspiracy Trail. Now, as I said at the beginning of this, if you're listening or you're watching and you have a better title, please let us know via our Facebook group or the comment section. And please, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up. It really tells the AI overlord that they should be showing our podcast and videos to more people. In addition, leave us a comment. Let us know how we're doing. If you love us, hate us, or just indifferent, leave a comment. Let us know. We're not going to get our feelings hurt. And we just, again, thank you very much for watching. And Tori wants you to buy something with your money.
And I'm not going to lie, guys. It might hurt my feelings if you say that you hate us. So maybe not the guys. Guys, we have so much cool merch. I don't know if you can see if you're watching on YouTube. If you see Mike's hat, it's super cool. We have so many cool t-shirts. They're super soft and comfy. The colors are great and they just look great. You'll be styling. We have a really cool Giants Are Real t-shirt. I have one. It gets tons of compliments. It's flattering you need one, and your best friend needs one, and your mom needs one. It's a great way to support the show. It's a good cause, and you'll look good.
Where do they need to go to get that merch, Tori?
They can go to campermon.com, or you can go to our Instagram page and click the link at the top of our bio. And guys, my head is full of conspiracy theories and tinfoil hat little rabbit trails, but we want to hear yours too. Like, if there's a conspiracy theory that you want us to explore on the show, we would love to. Send us a message, comment on this video, or anyway, reach out, let us know, and we would love to talk about your tinfoil hat theory.
So we are about to roll this interview with Chris, and his wife jumps in about halfway through. They're in Florida. They've experienced a lot of spooky, haunting things. We get into it in the show. Enjoy. So Chris, you hit me up, man. I can't remember how long ago it's been. We've been messaging back and forth for a while, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I think initially what you hit me up about kind of coming on to tell some experiences that you've had, and then kind of like backed off a little bit, changed your mind, and then came back around.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So we started talking before I started recording. You've got some interesting things that have happened. And we're going to kind of get into it, but it sounds like for a long time, since you were 13, you've
13.
experienced, what's that?
Yeah, 13, yeah.
Yeah, since you were 13, you've experienced some paranormal things, sleep paralysis. So want to get into that. So I'm going to just ask you, just kind of introduce yourself. Like, what's your background? I'd love to hear your testimony at some point during this conversation too, as it relates to some of these things that you've seen and experienced.
Okay. Do you want to know my background? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was adopted at birth by an older couple. My mother was born in 1947, and my dad was a World War II veteran. And so I was raised by way older people. I didn't really know my real mother. And I grew up in a stressful home. Let's just say that, I had a lot of older brothers that were her biological sons, my adopted mother, and they were really bad on drugs growing up. So they stole her car, my presents, Christmas presents every year. It was real stressful, and then my dad, do you want me to skip forward to like my whole childhood, or do you want me to just go to?
Yeah, I mean, whatever you want to share, man, honestly. Whatever you want to share.
Well, I'll just go to the part where, I lost my dad at 15, and I used to get in trouble a lot. I even was getting arrested as a teenager, but all throughout from 18 to, I will say this too. I had a kid at 17, and the girl I was with, we had a second kid when I was 19, and she had passed away not long after that. She was 21. So I was stuck with two kids, and my adopted mother had took my kids in to help me out because I was at home watching my kids at that time. And from there, I just started getting in trouble, like drugs and partying, drinking. And all the way from about 19 to almost 27, I got arrested my whole life, just on and off. And I'll just go to the part where I had the experience, though. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. When I was 13, me and my adopted dad were living in a house, and we were staying at a relative's house, and my brother, my little sister, and my sister-in-law were all living in the house with us. And I'll just start when I seen the thing. One night, my sister-in-law, which she's the one I told you was a witch, she asked me to go get a Mountain Dew for her one night. And it was like a double wide connected, so you could go around all the way around the house. And when I grabbed the Mountain Dew, I turned around and I seen something like move out the corner of my eye. And I have a mixed sister. You know, she's the only sister I grew up with. She was adopted as well. And her name's Mary. And so I called her name out. I thought it was her. You know, I'm like, okay, maybe she's trying to scare me, or I don't know. So I'm like, I called her name. I said, Mary, is that you? And it was dark, like most of the lights were off. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm just seeing things out the corner of my eye. I don't know. So I went to take 2 or 3 steps to go through the living room I seen it in. And this black, like, I don't know, mist or black smoke cloud just came from around the corner and just floated in the doorway in front of me. And it didn't have a face. No, I couldn't make out no facial, like, nose or eyes. Didn't have any legs. Like, from the knees down, there was no legs. It was just floating, no arms. And it just floated there, just basically, I guess, staring at me. I couldn't really tell, and it just floated there. And then I remember I couldn't run or move. I tried to scream help, but I couldn't move. I know I was just frozen. And then it just floated kind of towards the wall. And then when it got towards the wall, it just, poof, just disappeared, vanished. And then a couple months later, I called my mother one day, and my brother was next to her, and he got on the phone with me, and he said, I want to tell you something, because I had never told nobody but my little sister. And he said, me and my friend Willie, we saw a ghost. And I was like, so what did it look like? Because I seen one too a couple months back. And he said it looked like a smoke cloud. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. That's exactly what I've seen. He was like, my friend chased it. And so I asked him, I said, well, how close were you to it? He said, I could have touched it. So I guess he was standing there, and he said it just kind of expanded next to him, like just was small, and then it just expanded full size. And he said he could have reached out and touched it. He was so close to it. And he said it reminded him of like a Grim Reaper, kind of. That's what he said it looked like kind of like he thought he saw a hoodie, and it just looked like a Grim Reaper. And his friend behind him, Willie, he was like, I'm going to chase it. And he was about to run at it, he said, and it just disappeared. And then it, about 5 feet away by the front door, it just expanded back, like in a matter of seconds. And then his friend ran at it, and when he got to it, just was gone. And then so he ran out the front door to look for it. It was gone. And then so that was the first experience I had.
Wow. So hold on. Oh, Chris, you still with me?
Yeah.
Okay. I lost you. Can't see you.
1 second. There was an Amber Alert. That's so random.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's popped up. So I want to ask you, how close were you to it when you saw it?
Probably like 6-7 feet away from it, like pretty close. It was it was pretty close to me.
Okay.
At 6-7 feet or so.
Yeah. And you mentioned being like frozen. Do you think you were just like frozen with fear, or do you think this thing somehow like paralyzed you?
I don't know. I almost want to say I know I was very, that's the most scared I've been in my life. I'll be honest with you. Like, I know I was so scared. I feel like I couldn't have ran if I wanted to. I know that.
Okay.
But when I did have sleep paralysis and stuff, I was frozen because I was being grabbed. I know that.
Right. But this situation, I was just going to say, but this situation is different because this isn't a sleep paralysis situation. You're wide awake. You're going to get I think it was your aunt for your aunt. So did you have a feeling or a sense that this was something more than just a
I
cloud
thought,
of smoke?
yeah, oh yeah, it was, yeah. Because look, you know how you like smoke a cigarette and the smoke just disappears, it dissipates as it goes up in the air. It wasn't like that. It was like just waving in place, just up and down. Kind of like if someone had like a cloak or something on, that's what it kind of looked like. Like if someone was wearing like a smoke cloak or something, and it just, I don't know, it was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. It just up and down, just waving, like, and it was about the size of like, it was like the size of me, but without my arms and leg, and my legs from knees down. It was pretty big. It was like pretty, yeah, about the size of me from my head to my waist. And
Okay.
but yeah, it was definitely, I seen it twice. You know, the first time I turned around, it kind of moved past the doorway. Like, you know, as soon as I turned around, I seen it, but I was like, okay, there's no way. You know how you see stuff out of the corner of your eye. It was kind of like that. That's what I thought it was, and I'm like, well, that was really dark to be my sister, you know. And then when I was going to walk, it just came out from around the corner where I saw it go, and it just sat there in the doorway in front of me for a good like 10 plus seconds. It didn't move, just floating there right in the doorway, right in front of me. It just sat there for a good minute and then went towards the wall and was gone. So,
Okay. So I want to ask you another question. So, you know, when we're in the presence of like another person or like an animal or something, like we can kind of sense or feel.
I feel it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's the type of feeling that you had, that this was.
Yeah, here I was just scared. Like it scared me more than like anything I've ever been through. You know, and that's why another thing I always say to people, you know, people mock Christians and say we have no proof, or say, you know, there's no proof for God or anything. Really, in my personal experience, I pity those people because of things that I've personally been through. I know God's real. Just that alone, I could never deny that there's a God. You know, seeing a demon or whatever it was, I could never deny the existence of God just because of that.
Because it proves that
It proves, yeah, if
supernatural exists.
exists, then there's got to be a God.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned, and so you were 13 at this time. How old are you now?
32.
32. Okay. All right. So how long were y'all living in that house?
Probably like 2 years.
Okay.
About
So
that. Oh, go ahead.
So was that the only kind of supernatural event that you experienced while you were living in that house with family members that were actively in witchcraft?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I know I was always scared in that house more than almost any house I've ever been in for some reason. Like, I used to sleep in the room next to, you know, where my sister-in-law, which was a witch. I used to sleep in the room kind of, it was like a 5-bedroom house. It was 2 double wides, had 2 kitchens, like, I think like 4.5 bathrooms, 5 bathrooms. So it was a very big house. And I just know it was really old. It was like 100 years old at the time, close to that, I think. And I just know my mom tried to put me in a room by myself, and I couldn't sleep in there. So I was always too scared for some reason in that house.
Yeah.
And that happened. For a long time, I wouldn't sleep in the room alone.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. So you told me about another situation where you were physically pulled out of bed.
Yeah. One night, I was staying with my mother. It was about 2017, and I was staying at my mother's house, and her room was right next to mine. And my little brother stayed there too. And right where the end of my bed was at was a broken window. And my mother's house was about 100 yards or so, maybe not even that, maybe like 50 or something. But it was real close to the graveyard. And like literally I could walk out my backyard and I could see the graveyard right there at the end of my mother's yard. And one night I was asleep, and it was real dark. I used to sleep with all the lights off. My wife was asleep next to me. Well, we weren't married at the time. But literally, like, I woke up because I was choking. This is the first night I ever had sleep paralysis. I couldn't breathe in my sleep, and I went to sit up, and I couldn't move. I remember, like, I felt like somebody was choking me and laying on my stomach. Like, I tried to move my arms to push whatever it was off. I couldn't move. So I thought, okay, let me scream for my wife. I couldn't do it. And then about like 20 seconds into being held down, I thought I was going to suffocate to death, to be honest, because I was being held down for a good minute. And then all of a sudden I was just let go. And I jumped up and I woke my wife up. I said, man, I was choking. I don't know what's going on with me, but I felt like something was holding me down. And, you know, I remember I was sweating like real bad. My heart was beating. I was freaking out, you know. And then I never experienced nothing like that. So I'm like, okay, maybe, I don't know. You know, I didn't know about sleep paralysis at the time. So the next day is when I got yanked out of my bed. The next day, I remember I woke up the next night because it felt like my blanket was being pulled off me. And I'm like, and I remember feeling like so tired for some reason, like almost like I took a sleeping pill, but I remember I didn't take anything that night. Like I was sedated, it felt like. And I remember the blanket was being pulled off me real slow. Like I'm talking like slow is, you know, and I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe somebody's pulling a blanket off me. I don't know. It's like 3 a.m. though. And I remember it just being the fan was on. So I got real cold. And as soon as the blanket got to about where my knees were at, I went to sit up and yell like, hey, whoever it is, stop, like get out of my room, you know? And as soon as I tried to sit up to yell, my legs got snatched up in the air and they got yanked to the left. Like if I'm laying like this, they got yanked this way towards the broken window up in the air, and just I got dropped and I bounced off the bed. Boom. And it woke my wife up. She jumped up. She was like, what are you doing? What's going on? And I leaped over her and I just stood up, and she said, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? And I ran out the room. I didn't say anything to her. And I went and I got like a cardboard box and some duct tape, and I put it over the window, and I just duct taped the window shut because I don't know. And then I put a lamp in there and I turned the lamp on. And after that, I wouldn't even go to sleep without the lamp on anymore. And that was it for a long time till recently.
Wow.
Yeah, my wife was getting attacked the whole time until now. Like all
So she was
off, she's been attacked since she met me. Yeah.
wow. What type of attacks has she experienced? Similar like sleep paralysis events?
Yeah, but she had a dream. We had a weird dream recently the same night. It was the weirdest thing. We've never had a dream almost completely identical. It was the weirdest thing. That was like 2 weeks ago we had one. But she was getting attacked. Like she's saying like she's in her sleep and she's having a demonic dream. Like one time she said in her dream she was talking to a relative, one of the witches. It was her daughter, and my sister was in my dream. And in my dream I got dragged and I could feel it happening in real life. But she said there was this demon that telling her to follow it. Like she couldn't stop following it. And that's what happened in her dream. And she wasn't allowed to leave it alone, I guess, which was weird. She got choked the same night. And anyways, the first time I ever had sleep paralysis again was here at this house, which was like 2 months ago after 8 years or so. And it was the night I got attacked for the first time after my mother's house. It was a day that I had a talk with my wife. I said, look, we need to really start getting more like reading the Bible. You need to start studying with me a little more, try to get your heart into it. I said, maybe we could, I don't know if you're supposed to fast. I said, but maybe some days we could fast together and, you know, try to do things a little better. And that's the night I got attacked, was that same night. She was like agreeing with me, and we actually had a serious conversation, and then I got attacked that night. And do you want to know how that night went?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I was laying in my bed and it was like 2, 3 in the morning. And I woke up because I heard somebody talking. And I'm like, okay, that sounds like my wife. I was like, but she's asleep next to me. So how is she talking over there, you know? And it was her, but I knew she was asleep next to me. And there's a dresser that's kind of off in the distance by my bed. Like if you were to get off the side of my bed, there's a dresser like 5 feet away in my room. And
Mm-hmm.
I heard her, she was talking to me from the dresser. Like I could hear it was that direction. And I had my back turned. And I'm like, that's not my wife, but it sounds like her. I know because I could hear her breathing next to me and stuff, you know. I knew she was right next to me. And I'm like, then who is that talking? And I don't remember exactly what she was saying, but she was just, hey, Chris, she was explaining something to me. And I'm like, well, what the heck? And I just started getting scared because I knew she wasn't over by the dresser. So I was about to roll over to check what the heck, what's going on. I'm like, maybe I'm in and out of sleep. Like I'm getting scared, you know? And then I felt the blanket move, like moving behind me real slow. And I got grabbed on my butt, which is, I know that's weird, but I got grabbed on my butt by some type of force. And then my body started seizing up. Like I started seizing up. And I tried to scream help for my wife. I said, help, help, help. And she's a heavy sleeper, but she actually heard me after like the fifth, sixth time I said it. And she rolled over and grabbed my face and shook me and said, oops, sorry. Actually, my wife's here right now. She just got here with my daughter. But she shook me and she said, babe, are you all right? Wake up. Wake up. And then all of a sudden I got let go and I was able to move. Hey, I'm on the
No, it's okay. Oh, she said boo.
yeah, funny. But
Uh,
yeah, she snapped me out of it. Like as soon as she grabbed me, I was able to move. And it didn't happen for a couple of days. And then one morning, you know, I told you it happened in the morning time, like 9 o'clock. My wife just left for work. She had to be there 8. It was like close to 9 o'clock. I can always feel it sometimes. Like I was actually fully awake that morning. I just closed my eyes and I was trying to go back to sleep. And I can always feel it. Like I'm being slowly grabbed, kind of like if someone was playing a game with you and they were going to jump scare you. It kind of feels like that. And I could feel it coming on to me. And then all of a sudden, like I was grabbed. And this morning, my wife wasn't there, so I didn't know what to do. And I said, "Well, I'm supposed to cry for Jesus anyway. You know, this is my opportunity." So I said, I called his name in Hebrew. You know, I was like, Yeshua, Jesus, help me, please help me, because I knew my daughter. You know, she wasn't going to grab me or anything. She's only 4. So, right as I was calling for Jesus, I was able to move my right arm and I started because I was being grabbed from behind. I was able to push back. I wasn't able to turn, but I was able to open my eyes. I could see my daughter looking at me and my eyes were snapped back shut, like boom, like something snapped my eyes shut. And then I could move my right leg right after I moved my arm and I pushed back on my right leg. And whatever it was, I pushed and it let go of me. And I was able to sit up and my daughter was looking at me and I said, are you okay, babe? It's okay. You know, don't be scared. And she put the blanket over her head and said, ooh, I'm a ghost. I'm a ghost. And I don't know. It scared me when she did that. I thought it freaked me out. I was like, come on, babe, let's get out of the bed. So I grabbed her and I took her to the living room and I put on some TV and we just sat out there and I turned the lights on and wouldn't go back to my room. And
wow.
yeah.
Do you think she was doing that as if she was mimicking something that she may have seen?
I don't know. I don't know if she was doing it because I don't know if it was because I was making noise or she just. But it's very coincidental. You know, she would do that right after. And I told my wife that, and she was like, "That was really creepy." But it could have been. So.
Have you read Vicky Joy Anderson's book?
No.
Are you aware of it?
You know what? I will say this. when I was being attacked the morning I called on Jesus, you know, that verse, resist the devil and he will flee from you.
Yeah.
That popped into my head while I was fighting back.
Wow.
It just into my head. So I just started saying it in my head. And that's, I was literally, as I'm calling on Jesus, that verse came into my head and I just kept saying it in my head as I was trying to fight to gain control so I could move. And I know a lot of Bible verses, you know, I know the whole gospel. I'm sorry, I'm dropping my phone.
No, you're good. Yeah, so Vicky Joy Anderson, I don't know, she might be one of the kind of top experts on the spiritual components or aspects of sleep paralysis. Her book is, let me just sort of here.
My wife actually, she's right here. If you ever want to ask her too, she'll tell you how her experience was.
Yeah, if she wants to share. So Vicky Joy Anderson's book is They Only Come Out at Night, Exposing the Dark Weapon of Sleep Paralysis.
It normally happens at night, like late at night, like 2. That was the only time it's ever happened in the daytime. It was like 9 o'clock. I've never had it happen. But the night it happened after like 8 years was the night I had a serious talk with my wife about us following God in a more faithful way, you know. And we were having a deep conversation. I got attacked that night for the first time in years. And I just thought that was kind of weird.
For sure. No, for sure. Yeah. I'd like to send you guys a copy of her book because she breaks down the kind of like the history, all the spiritual aspects of like sleep paralysis. And then she actually gives you essentially like weapons to use in your fight against that, for the lack of a better term, as far as it goes, you know, as far as spiritual warfare is concerned with sleep paralysis and those types of events. So I'd like to send you a copy of her book because I think you all will find it, you know, very, very helpful and very useful since it's something that you're both experiencing. But yeah, if your wife wants to jump on and she has some experiences that she wants to share.
Hey, babe. 1 second. So, you've had sleep paralysis a bunch of times. I just want you to tell him what your experience was like. You want to? Okay. And you were there the night I got attacked when I heard your voice and stuff.
Yeah, we both had an attack in the same night, like almost the same demonic dream, just in the same settings, the same dream, the same night. And as long as we've been together, that was the first time that's particularly happened. So that was extremely.
Wow.
And we both had an attack in the same night. But me, I've been having sleep paralysis and attacks for, I don't know, a really long time, like 10 years or something.
Okay.
And it usually, sometimes I'm not even fully asleep. I'm half awake when it's happening, and which is weird because I can, I'll wake up and I still can't breathe. It feels like something is like choking me or holding me down to where I can't move and I can't talk or scream. I can't ask for help. I can't do anything. And then I'll wake up like coughing because I had just been choked basically in my sleep.
Yeah.
And it's been happening for so long. And sometimes it's so bad. I'll try to like wiggle in my sleep because I can't breathe. And it's just been choking me, I guess, and weighing down on me. And I can't do anything about it.
Tell me your name real quick.
My name is Tiffany.
Tiffany. Okay, Tiffany, I want to ask you, have you ever, like when Chris is having an episode and you hear him, have you ever seen anything?
No.
Like physically?
What do I sound like? Tell him what I look.
It's where he makes, I think we both make similar sounds in our when it's happening, but it's like, man, I haven't seen anything, but he'll make this weird sound in his sleep, like he's crying or something, crying for help, and like he's really spooked out, and then it'll wake me out of my sleep because I'll hear him being attacked, and then I'll try my best to wake him up, and then when he finally wakes up from it, if he was even fully asleep, because a lot of times he's not even asleep when it's happening.
Are his eyes open when you hear him?
Well, usually they're asleep, but he has a really hard time sleeping most of the time. He doesn't. He tries his best, but and I don't know how to explain it. He'll make really creepy sounds in his sleep, and then I'll go to wake him up, and he'll just be extremely spooked out by the whole thing. And I go through really similar things, and he has to do the same thing to me.
Yeah, I have to
he'll wake me up because I'll panic in my sleep, and it's just weird.
She'll make moaning noises, and that's how I know when she's being attacked. She goes, "Oh," and I'm like, "Babe, wake up! Are you okay?" She was like, I was just having an attack," and I'm like, "Man, it's just really scary."
Yeah, it's really scary.
Yeah, no, for sure.
She's more of like a heavier sleep, but me, I'm fully awake when it happens. Like the night I heard her talking to me, I knew she was next to me, but I've never heard a voice in my life. And that was the first time I've ever heard anything like that. And it was the scariest thing I've ever been through. Hearing her talk, but she's next to you, and she's talking on the other side of the room.
Right. Yeah. So I was emailing back and forth with this guy. I think he's in Texas about sleep. He has sleep paralysis. And he had a situation, and he wasn't comfortable talking about it. But he emailed me like all of the details, and he basically said there was one night where he was being attacked, and his wife woke up and saw this like green, ugly looking creature like sitting on his chest. And then when she was like, I don't know if she like yelled or said something, it scurried off of him and like scurried away. So that's why I was wondering if you have ever seen anything.
I've seen anything yet. Hopefully I don't, but I haven't. But it's so weird because a lot of times, even at nighttime, sometimes me and him, he'll no longer sleep without the light off, because it seems like when me and him are sleeping in the complete darkness, it seems to happen all the time.
Yeah, if I'm in the dark, I always get attacked.
Right, inevitably. But since we've been sleeping with the lights on, it seems like it's hardly been happening, which is the weird part.
Yeah. Are you guys able to, Chris, can you sit down next to Tiffany? I don't know if you guys have two chairs.
Sure.
Oh.
Yeah. So one thing Tiffany, I was telling Chris, are you familiar with Vicky Joy Anderson?
No.
I don't know if you've heard of her. No. Okay. So Vicky Joy, amazing woman of God. She's incredible. She's an amazing author, amazing speaker. Just love Vicky Joy to death. She wrote a book. I was telling Chris earlier, it's called They Only Come Out at Night, Exposing the Dark Weapon of Sleep Paralysis. And so she works with people she's interviewed many people that have experienced sleep paralysis. And so, I mean, she's basically like an expert on sleep paralysis from the supernatural, like spiritual perspective. And so I'm going to send you guys a copy of her book, because I think there's a lot of like history in there. She breaks down kind of the history. She even talks about it from the spiritual perspective, the natural perspective, because the world will tell you, oh, it's just sleep paralysis.
That's what when I first looked it up, I said, why am I, because when it first happened to me, I had no clue what it was. And then I looked and there was a medical study done on it. And I'm like, well, it can't be a medical condition because I got physically yanked out my bed the night after I had it. I mean, I physically got yanked. I literally bounced off the bed next to her and it woke her up. And I just ran out the room and cardboarded the box. She still remembers that night. That was right. So, and I'm like, well, I got physically attacked. How could it be a medical condition if I'm being yanked like in an Exorcist movie or something? It wasn't as dramatic as the movies.
And we lived really
but it was
close
pretty
to a graveyard.
I told him that.
At that, which was super weird.
Yeah,
I told him that. Weird
experiences there.
Yeah, very.
There's some other weird stuff that happened when we were there too. I didn't really talk about, but I'll tell you one experience. I don't know if this has anything to do with demonic or what, but it to me it does. We were staying in this it was like a mini shed house thing in the back, had air and a bed and but
it was in the woods.
Yeah, it was like because my mom stayed in the woods. And one night she woke me up, like shaking me awake. And she was like, Chris, there's a dog at the door, something real big. And I woke up because I didn't hear it, that first night. And I heard it, and it was scratching and growling at the door, like, or like sounded really big, like a big dog. Yeah, like a huge dog. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to hit it with the door and scare it off. And so I rammed the door open as fast as I could, and nothing. It just hit thin air. And then when I stepped out, it was just mist. It was very misty. Right. It just mist everywhere.
And this continued foggy, to happen
a couple nights. So the next night, it happened again. And I was awake this time. She was asleep. And
he was like, outside of it too. He was.
Well, hold on. That was the third night. Yeah. I was actually outside the shed while it was happening, while she was in the shed, and I was like 5 feet away from her. But the second night, I was actually awake and she was asleep, and I rammed the door open. I hit it, and there was nothing there. It was misty again. So the third night, it happened again, but we were both awake this time. And so this time I'm like, I'm going to kick the door. And I had a flashlight, big flashlight, and I'm going to kick the door. I'm going to Spartan kick it open to try to hit this dog or whatever it is, right? So I drop kicked the door open to try to hit whatever it was, because it was growling, scratching, biting at the door. And it just nothing, didn't hit anything. Nothing ran off. I went out there with the spotlight, nothing. No dog, nothing. The night after that, I had walked out. I walked in my mom's back door, and I was coming back to the shed, and I heard her yelling my name. She's like, the dog's at the door. And I'm like, well, I'm standing right here. She didn't know I was out there. And I said, there's nothing at the door. And I opened it, and it was growling and scratching, she said, while I was standing there. So
wow. But there was nothing there.
No, but then a couple months later, I had seen something out there, a big dog. It didn't even look like.
Yeah, him and his friend, right?
Yeah, me and Alex. Yeah, it didn't even look normal. It looked like, it was like gray, kind of like a wolf. And I stay in Florida. There's no wolves here, but it had like really long front legs and like pointy ears, and
something he's never seen before.
Yeah, I'm like, is that like what are them dogs that run fast? Greyhounds or something?
Yeah.
That's what I thought it was. So he's like, I'm going to run at it and scare it off. And he ran at it, and it was just staring at us. He ran and screamed at it like 5 feet away from it, and it didn't even twitch or
it didn't blink.
Just stared at him.
It just stared.
Yeah, so he backed up, and he was like, dude, we need to go inside. And we got back to back, and we walked up my mom's porch. And I turned around, opened the door, and we both backed into the porch, turned around, it was gone.
Yeah, it just was gone.
Yeah, it just disappeared.
Nowhere to be found.
So it didn't run off or anything. It was just gone.
Do you all live on that property still to this day?
No, my mom was living there. She passed away in 2020, but she was living there. Then she was actually having attacks right before she passed away.
Oh, yeah, she sure was in her sleep.
Yeah, talking about her dead ones was coming to her in her sleep, and I used to hear her crying in her sleep. She was real old, she was 70-something years old, and her son was staying there. We had got a place on our own, and her son was still there doing drugs and doing bad stuff. So we had got our own place and had our daughter,
right?
And I stayed away from there,
Yeah. Hey, so I'm gonna send you a copy. I'll probably reach out to Vicky and maybe pay her, see if she'll send you a copy, or I'll just order a copy to your house, whatever. But I want to get you a copy of this book. Absolutely. And one thing that I don't know what your all's kind of like worship habits and things are. But one thing that I would recommend doing, and this kind of comes from Vicky, would be at night before you go to bed, like spend some time like in prayer and even more importantly, like in worship to Jesus, to the Lord, and just really like set your heart toward him, because ultimately, like the enemy, like he wants to get you afraid, right? He just wants to still kill and destroy. So anything he can do to try to like wreck our faith and our relationship with Jesus, he will do, including what you all are experiencing.
Yeah. It's weird because around here, there's a lot of like random noise, stuff falls over. There's like knocking. It's so weird. This is like I've never experienced that, but here it happens at night. There's like knock noises. If stuff just falls over on its own, I'm like, man, it's just
really odd.
And she's awake when it happens, you know, it happens all the time. There's like 3 things fell over in my room last night for no reason.
Have you all prayed over your house or apartment?
No. Someone suggested putting oil or something. We tried that once. Blessing it. We never did it, but someone suggested doing it. Yeah, I almost did it, but
get some anointing oil, and just anoint every doorway, every window into your house, and just pray. Ask God to bless your home and to protect your home, and then pray against, kick out anything that is not of the Lord. Tell it that it's not welcome in your home, and create an environment and an atmosphere of worship, like in your home, specifically like in your home in general, but like in your bedroom, like spend, even if it's just like 5-10 minutes, like before you go to bed. If you have like a favorite worship song or something, spend some time in worship.
You know what? I know this is, I don't know, it's random, but, and I don't know if it has anything to do with partially what's going on here, but, we used to live in the front of this place. We moved back here because it was bigger, but the guy that lived here, he was on meth real bad. And one day I know I was standing outside when I first moved here. He said that there was Spanish women doing witchcraft in the back bedroom where we stay at. He said they were killing a chicken or doing something weird back there. And I'm like, well, why would you let them in? Yeah, I said, why would you let them into your house? And he just said, I don't know. And then
definitely definitely need to pray over. Do you guys have, like, are you a part of like a local church or fellowship?
I was part of that. We got baptized there. Yeah. But I was a part of the First Baptist that I broke into.
A lot.
Chris, you had mentioned that you were in and out of like getting in trouble in jail and stuff, and I think before we started recording, you mentioned trying to steal from a church.
Yeah, and that church is the very church that we made our whole life around.
Yeah, we got baptized. I went and apologized to him because I've opened pled to the court, the mercy of the court 3 times, and somehow I'm here. I don't know.
Yeah,
that means when the state has an offer, you say, you know what, judge, I want to leave my faith in your hands, and he can give you the max right there if he's not having a good day. But I've done that 3 times, and I was facing a max of 45 years in prison, and he gave me 3 consecutive years, and I walked out that day somehow.
Wow.
And I just imagined God walking with me into the courtroom because I didn't have nobody. My mother was, and I was just like, God, if I get out of here, just let me get out before my mother passes because she was sick. And what do you know? I get out, and then probably 2 months, 3 months later, she was gone. A couple months. I know that. A couple months after my mom passed away.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. But,
I brought up church because if there's some good kind of, I want to say like spirit-led people there that are, spiritual, like prayer warriors, I would talk to someone in your church and have them come and pray over your house as well.
I've thought about, I was just talking with her about that. I'm like, should I call someone from church? I get scared that, people think like, because, it's a lot of Catholics, judge us and say like, oh, well, they're crazy. Because I know a lot of Catholic people do it from what I was looking up not too long ago. But I don't know. Should I do it at regular church?
I would. And honestly, if those people at church thought you were crazy, I might find a different different church.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I'm not saying no, I'm not saying like I'll just leave, flippantly.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Church did that.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
A certain thing.
Yeah.
Because we're Christians.
Yeah. I mean, listen, spiritual warfare is biblical, so we're not talking about anything that's not biblical here.
Yeah.
But I mean, listen, I'm not saying leave that fellowship if they're like, that's weird. Maybe don't leave if you feel like the Lord is, called you there, got you there. But I definitely would do it. I would mention it, see if there's anybody that I would talk to the pastor.
I mean, you see how long it took me to even finally
know.
I'm just, it's hard for me. I'm kind of closed in a little bit.
For sure.
And I feel like maybe that's why I get attacked, it's because I'm, I have a daughter, and that's what I'm scared of the most. I'm like, I even said out loud, I said, I don't care if you attack me, but don't touch my daughter. That's what I care about the most,
Yeah, for sure.
I do, but I just don't want her getting hurt,
Yeah. Right. Well, that's why I'm, even if you don't feel comfortable talking to somebody, definitely pray over your house. And
get deep into prayer and worship.
Yeah, and I'll find some good like resources for you, even maybe just
Okay. Did I get into detail enough on this video, do you think? For my first time? Okay. I know I didn't go like completely, but I tried. Yeah. It's okay.
Sure you did good.
Sorry, y'all. Can you hear me?
It's okay. Yeah, I hear you, Chris.
My mic just went out on me. I'm not sure what's going on with it. So I'll finish up this interview with some bad audio. So if you're listening to this episode, I apologize. My mic just went out. I'm not saying it's Satan, but I'm not saying it's Satan. But, I will get you all some resources, even if it's just like a prayer to pray over your house, or maybe some instructions to like anoint your
prayer. Should I do what? I don't know what to say. I have a problem with that too. Reminds me of he didn't know what to say a lot. So
right.
That's how I feel.
Yeah, I'll get you some resources. I'll get your email address, or I'll send them to you on Messenger.
Okay.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Definitely, don't want you all experiencing this stuff if you can't help it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, especially for, your daughter's sake. You don't want her living in a house where these entities have some sort of like legal right and access because of things that other people have done. And then, another thing that you can do is pray and ask the Lord, ask the Holy Spirit to show you if there's anything that you have done in your past, or anything that you're doing, now that is inviting these things to have kind of legal right and access to your home. Ask the Lord to reveal those to you. Ask the Holy Spirit to reveal those to you. He loves you so much that like he will. Right. And then if it's something that you've done, just repent of it. It's something that you're doing, like repent of it. And then, got to just close those doors.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Chris, Tiffany, I really appreciate you all being willing to come on and tell your story. Chris, I think the enemy wants us to keep silent about this stuff, because the enemy wants people to think that this stuff is either crazy or it's not real.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. I'm like, this stuff is definitely real. The first night I had sleep paralysis, but the second night I got yanked out my bed. That's when I knew that the stuff you see in movies really is happening. And
yeah, it's not a joke. Nothing.
Yeah, it's not a joke. Yeah, especially the night I heard my wife's voice when she was next to me. That's one of the scariest things I've ever dealt with. She was full blown having a conversation with me while I was trying to sleep. and then I got grabbed from behind. And yeah, it's just really scary.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, guys, I've got to run, but I want to just say I'd love to pray a quick prayer over you before we go. Okay.
Okay.
Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for Chris and Tiffany. I just ask, Lord, that you would bless them and bless their daughter. Lord, I pray blessing and protection over them and their home. God, I pray that you would bless them from the top of their heads to the soles of their feet, Lord. Lord, I pray that you would put a hedge of protection about them, that no weapon formed against them would prosper. Lord, I just pray that you would give them strength, that you would encourage them to continue on with their walk with you, and that they would walk with you all the days of their lives, Father. I just thank you and I praise you for them in your mighty name, Jesus. Amen.
Jesus' name.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris.
Welcome. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Hey, feel free to hit me up anytime.
Okay. All right, Chris.
Stay blessed.
Take care.
All right. Y'all take care.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Disembodied spirits of the giants still want a war, still want to kill in the core, to see the blood of the innocent spill on the floor. That's a demoniac and the kind of Yeshua combined to heal and restore his image bearers in his second chance when he coming back, cause he bringing a sword. This ain't a planned sermon, it's a welcome to Camp Hermon. Yeah, welcome to Camp Hermon.